Stock Ableton Synths are like this shy girl who always had crush on you, even if you decided to hang out with bad and prettier ones who also seek for your time, money and puts you into unhealthy addictions. So is it worth it to cheat on stock synths? Important disclaimer, this video is not sponsored by Arturia, although I made a few cool presets for you to download for free or support the channel if you can. Just to not make it into another boring review, Pigments has wavetables, analog shapes, granular samplers, harmonic engine, which is basically a saw, but you can morph it. And before we get into comparison, let's quickly talk about the new Modal engine introduced in a free update Pigment 6. So here is a preset I made without this Modal engine, which already sounds quite cool, but once I activate the Modal engine and once I play with some macros, Modal engine just adds a cool tail. What about this one? That's with Modal engine, and once I deactivate it, it's just a basic analog shapes bass. Let me just crank the volume up because I can't hear shit. That's better. Once I change this transient part, for example, it automatically gives me a different tone. And the second part of Modal engine is actually responsible for shift. Maybe I should allow it. Yeah, nothing exploded, so that's fine. So the second part of Modal engine is basically responsible for shifting your particles a little bit. I think I have a cooler preset for that, so let me just find it real quick. With macros I prepared, I can actually increase the amount of granular delay. Live also covers everything I mentioned, but not in one place. Unless you make a MIDI rack, which is a cool topic for a different video, so let me know if you want to watch it. That being said, in terms of I have everything at home, the point goes to, well, yeah, Pigments. Next thing are built-in filters and effects. I already solved the second problem with my free stock synth starter rack, but in terms of filters, then well. You might have missed that in synths like operator, wavetable or even sampler, you can use more than just a basic low cut. Then you can also introduce filter drive or even shaper. Arturia. Being Arturia also allows for different filter types, and the coolest ones are obviously those modeled after analog synths. And hold your horses, analog purists. I know it's just a digital character and a curve. Anyways, I think I overused the Jupiter filter inside my presets, but here goes my first complaint. If you allow us to put different types of filters here, right next to oscillators, why not to use the same filters here in this multi-filter tab? Come on, it's a multi-filter, isn't it? A little cheating with racks on this round, but I think we might have a draw here. Although I really need to sit down and recreate the super unison effect with stock devices, since me, I love it. Time for my favorite features, although that doesn't mean that Pigments will be a clear winner here. This time, Ableton, being Ableton, gives us many options in their classic Microsoft Excel fashion. To be honest, I got used to it, but please don't ask me to modulate something in operator at the middle of the night, since I still need to think twice before sending the knob to the right direction. Speaking of Pigments though, there is no mode matrix, at least in its classic form and fashion. You have two different ways to modulate parameters. First one being that whenever you hover over the knob, you can see this plus icon. You can basically assign it to anything you want. The second option, which I like better, is actually dragging any type of modulator. In this case, let's just try to modulate resonance with envelope 3. So just drag it here to the resonance and then adjust the amount. Every single modulator in Pigments has this sidechain option, which is basically responsible for modulating the modulator with another modulator. Makes sense, right? I think depth would be a cooler name since... Let me just show you how it works. So let's just say I would want to make a slight variation to this filter cutoff, which is already modulated by the envelope 2. Once I click the sidechain option, I can choose different modulator, and in this case, let's just go with LFO 1. Here I can increase the amount of modulator, so it's basically goes from 0 to full. Let's just put it up a little bit. Instead of using LFOs for that, which can obviously be cool, but anyways, I like to use the velocity function. So now whenever I press this chord a little bit lighter, it only does a tiny modulation, but if I will press it a little bit harder, all of what I showed you in Pigments is cool, but that doesn't mean that with a help of Max for Live devices or stock MIDI devices, you can't achieve something similar inside Live. I already showed you some solutions in my previous videos, but just as a quick reminder, MIDI envelope and expression control are your best friends. That being said, even when mapping in Pigments is a little bit simpler and intuitive, we have another draw here. I think we all know how Operator holds up to the legacy of Yamaha DX7 with, well, FM operators and their routing. Older live synths also have some form of frequency and pulse width modulation, but it's hard for me to swallow. You simply can't beat this. I have the simple wavetable in oscillator 1. Let's just activate the second oscillator and maybe choose a different wavetable. And as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 different ways to modulate this wavetable at once. I can switch it to the engine tool, which gives me the wavetable we chose before, but now let's just quickly increase the frequency modulation. But it's not only about frequency modulation. I can actually use the phase modulation as well. And add wavefolding into the equation. I can change the position, even change the wavetable at this point. And who said that sound design is hard to do? We actually made a cool sound with a couple of random clicks. It goes without saying that Pigments win this round.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
Although I have a feeling that if Ableton would introduce a form of carriers and modulators inside wavetable, for example, there will be one less reason to use third-party synths. And this function in particular, not saying about Pigments, all the third-party synths, it's what actually make me want to use them. But if you think about it, the simpler the sound design is, the more you can squeeze out from your creativity.